All right, we'll go ahead and get started in
All
three,
right.
two. What's up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Can you hear me? Is this thing on? I'm Jeremy, and people are terrible. And joining me here, as always, is Caleb Miles, aka Roddy Prime, aka Caleb Says Stuff. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, man? I was gonna do sign language on this podcast, but I didn't know if that'd work.
That way, at least we could know that people were getting part of the message. Like, you don't even have to know sign language to get more from that than what you would have got yesterday. So yeah, me and Caleb, a little peek behind the curtain. Caleb and I got up and recorded yesterday for this week's episode of the show. It was a good show, man. I felt pretty good about it. You even went so far as to say it was like your favorite episode we've done.
It absolutely was.
Fuck. So that, which is great. I mean, our chemistry and stuff, right on time. Did a really great interview with this big YouTuber named Sean Chandler. All of it went really well. Unfortunately, I was not capturing audio on my device over here. So both the podcast and the interview, completely worthless. We got to redo it all again. Obviously, we can't recapture the magic, so we're not even going to fucking lie to you guys. Like, this is the first time we've talked about a lot of this stuff. We went over the topics, on this first draft of it. We've added a couple of things, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, I can probably bring a little more personal insight into the topic that I've brought for the week. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into, as always, we're going to start with some of the week's weird news headlines. Then we are going to jump into Caleb's topic, my topic, and then our viewer-submitted topic, which this week is coming from Andrea Burke, and it is about the footage used in Netflix's Bird Box. There was a train accident that was portrayed in footage that was purchased from a stock footage company, and the people at Netflix have made the decision not to pull the footage from it, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But this is something that could probably fit into People Are Terrible or Movies Are Terrible. But I got to ask you, man, do you remember all of the Fyre Fest debacle?
Yeah, I did. And they put out two documentaries, a Hulu and then on Netflix like a day later.
I watched both of them
Okay.
yesterday, and it's so fascinating. Like, I'm sure I would rather watch this kind of train accident than whatever it shows in Bird Box, because it is just so crazy. It's hard to know if this Billy guy, I want to say his name's Billy McFarland, but I think it's because he looks a lot like Seth MacFarlane that I think that. But he was this entrepreneur guy. He got his first little bit of money by basically creating a suit to make your credit card heavier. Like, it was this company that they would take your imprint and your magnetic strip and transfer it onto a sheet of metal so that when you whip your fucking dick out on the dinner table, it's like makes the loudest noise when it hits the surface. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I got this. And then they're like, no, I got this. Fucking thunk. Drop this big ass
like
heavy
a bootleg
fucking
black card.
Yeah, it is what it was. It was a lot like a black card, only it had these exclusive membership perks, and he was really selling a lifestyle to people that, like I said, it's almost like he was able to identify people's insecurities and weaponize that shit. You know what I mean? Because he went from doing that to this Fyre Festival thing, which for those of you guys that are watching and listening and don't know, it was a music festival that was built around an app, and the app's function was basically to be able to connect wealthy clients with musicians to perform at fucking bar mitzvahs and stuff, I guess. I don't know exactly how small or large of a scale, but basically it was a way to put people directly in contact with performers. So these guys went down to the Bahamas. They shot this fucking promo video with like Alessandra Ambrosio, like the biggest Victoria's Secret models, the biggest supermodels in the entire world, the biggest Instagram influencers in the entire world. And they shot this 1.5-minute promo, and they started selling tickets to this thing before they even had any idea about how to make all of this shit happen. So do you remember, like, kind of from where you were sitting, what were you witnessing in that whole moment in social media?
I was witnessing a bunch of rich people who saw videos of models and really thought they were going to get close to them and try to fuck them.
Yeah.
And so spend a lot of money to go to a big bullshit event is what I saw.
And we were all kind of laughing at him. I mean,
100%.
You know, in my mind, it was a island full of fucking Kylie Jenner or Kendall Jenners. Just a bunch of rich,
100%.
spoiled white girls out there crying. And I remember seeing Trevor Noah on The Daily Show, and he said, God, white people are all about camping unless you surprise them with it or something like that. And the shit is
funny.
so true because, like, look at other music festivals. Look at Coachella. Look at Burning Man. Look at fucking Voodoo Fest in New Orleans. Like, they're muddy, dirty shitholes. You know that's what you're signing up for, and there's no pretense of luxury, yet you're still going to run into the same fucking famous people. Anytime there's an opportunity for an Instagram shoot, millennials are going to show up to the shit. So that's basically what it is. I was going to music festivals back when they were really all about, like, listening to music and getting high. Like, that was really the main thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like photo ops. It's like, go stand in front of the Coachella sign this year so you can get a picture taken on with your fucking see-through top and your little nipple pasties and act like you're a free spirit when really you're just another cog in the fucking corporate machine. And that's the irony about it that kind of made me laugh when I saw all this shit about Fyre Fest. But on the other side of that, dude, there was all these fucking Bahamian citizens that were working like day laborers, fucking 24-hour days to put this thing together. And that guy just bounced off the island and didn't pay anybody. So they all got fucked, dude. Yes. And that's where it's like, it is funny on one hand, but then the actual impact that it had on that little Bahamian island that was never ready for this shit in the first place is really interesting. So I would say the Netflix one is much more polished. It's a little sleeker, a little sexier, a little more like engaging in the dramatic elements of it, where the Hulu one feels much more like a Dateline or like a 48 Hours investigation. It's thorough, but it doesn't feel built around a narrative in the same way that the Netflix one was. So I think that the Netflix one is a better watch. But the other one, the Hulu one, actually has interviews with the guy on it. So they're both fucking cool, man.
Yeah, the Hulu, I would honestly like it a little less, not necessarily polished, but less like narrative driven, just more kind of like a news special. I think would be kind of more interesting. I'll probably end up watching them both because it's something that kind of interests me.
Let me know what you think. I think it is such an interesting thing. It was definitely a moment in influencer culture, and just kind of that shine that black mirror back onto what
100%.
the ugly side of it really was, and that it is all just a fucking facade. It's all like Instagram in particular, man. And we're gonna talk a little bit about today's current obsession with social media and how that may link to depression and stuff like that. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but I think that that's another just a really strong example of how profound of an impact fucking Instagram in particular can have on culture. So yeah, just kind of wanted to ask you about that real quick. I didn't know if it was even something that you'd heard about, but I guess you would have.
Yeah, as connected as I am. Did they bring anything up with Ja Rule in it? Because he was tied into it as well.
Oh, dude, all up in it, all up in both of them.
Good.
The other thing so the Netflix documentary is like produced by the marketing team that put together the promotional packages for Fyre Fest in the first place. So some people, amazing. Yes, it is, and some people look at it like, oh, this is the Fyre Fest people. Which it kind of is, but it's kind of not, because they were contracted in. Like, Billy was the guy, and he hired this marketing firm, and the marketing firm didn't necessarily know that they were selling bullshit, and even if they did, they were still getting paid regardless. So I don't know how culpable they were, but what it did allow was for the Netflix documentary to show all sorts of unprecedented footage, that because Billy and Ja Rule wanted everything to be documented for the digital age. So you see all sorts of shady dealings going on between all of these guys, and they're just videoing all of it because they're fucking idiots. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing to see I think it ended up being like $125 million fucking just disaster,
Did he ended up going to prison, didn't he, for this?
Ja Rule? Oh, the other guy? He's on his way. I don't think
Yeah,
he's
I think it
actually
was one of
gone
those
in
two.
yet. And 7 years, I mean, they're sticking it to him, and he's ended up having to pay a whole lot of it back. And in a way, it's like you can tell that he's got the pathology where like he was either going to succeed just on sheer ambition, or he was going to fail gloriously. And it's such a fine line between being an entrepreneur and being a fucking con man. You got to believe your own hype in so many ways. And like he logistically, he never even thought about it. It was just like, can I make this happen? Can I make this little move today in hopes of getting closer to this bigger picture? And he's getting deeper and deeper into it with investors and shit. And yeah, till it all just kind of
Was he
fell
kind of
apart.
just doing like fake it till you make it sort of thing?
Yeah.
And then kind of got it over his head. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's kind of in a nutshell. But all right. Anyways, we'll stop mourning for the wealthy, and we will move on to some of this week's weird news headlines. Oh man, Caleb, I can't wait to show you one of the positives about us not recording yesterday is I got to make this cool little graphic for our Florida segments.
Ooh, I'm very excited about this.
Yes. But before we do get to the Florida man stuff, let's take a look at some of these stranger than fiction headlines, starting with Burger King's shitty lawsuit. Caleb, take it away.
Okay, so this one is amazing. This one makes me very happy. So, a Burger King customer is suing a fast food chain for allegedly reneging its promise of a lifetime supply of free meals to compensate for enduring more than an hour locked in a foul-smelling bathroom. This comes from CBS News. So, after finding himself trapped inside a bathroom at a Burger King in Portland, Oregon, in mid-December, Curtis Bruner used his cell phone to call at the fast food restaurant for help. According to the lawsuit filed this week, the workers responded by pushing a fly swatter under the door, directing Bruner to use it to unjam the door's lock. The suit contends Bruner could hear Burger King employees and customers laughing while he remained locked inside its bathroom for well over an hour before a locksmith finally came and broke him out, according to legal filing. But the story gets deeper. It's so they settle outside of court and say, we're just going to give you a lifetime supply of Burger King. But he goes, I think, 13 days to get Burger King. And after that, the manager's like, that's close enough to a lifetime supply. And they cut him off there at 13 days. So now he is suing them.
For big money, too, right? I mean, what was the actual monetary amount there?
Like $9,000, I think he
I mean, and I'm laughing like I could like $9,000 could probably change my life right now, but like just for your average lawsuit, when you're especially talking about Fire Festival and shit, it's like Jesus, dude, $9,000. It's like you'd think Burger King would just pay it to go away.
Yeah. So yeah, it's $9,000 and $9,026 to be accurate. If you get that 26, which is the estimated cost of eating one $7.89 Whopper meal for a week for the next 22 years. So that's 1 week for the next year. First of all, I would be going higher than that. I'd be like, hey, you made me a promise to do lifetime Burger King. I'm doing like one every day.
Yeah. Yep. Fucking onion ring, upcharge, drink, all that shit.
You promised me if I sit in your bathroom for an hour, but how much of this is him? I just don't get how you get stuck in a bathroom for an hour. I don't know if that's when the locksmith was called. Kind of sounds like that, or if he was just stuck in there, not realizing he was stuck in there because he was taking a massive dump for 30 minutes. I have no idea.
See, we had more time.
Unwraps.
We had an extra 24 hours to super sleuth this shit, and apparently neither of us could turn up any stones left unturned. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he was stuck in there for an hour by the time the locksmith got there, or by the time that he contacted Burger King, because both of those things, it can only be one or the other, not both. And the headline makes it seem like the whole ordeal was around an hour. I don't know though, man, because like you said, why would you wait an hour other than just embarrassment before you called the fast food place and they're like, yo, I'm stuck in your bathroom? And how do you get stuck in a bathroom?
I'm assuming it was a faulty lock since they called the locksmith, but like if I'm taking a dump, I walk up to the door and I go to open it and it doesn't open, I push it really hard a couple of times and go, fuck, I have my cell phone on me.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Unless this guy just went into like full like poo freak out mode, and he's like panicking in there, and he's sweating, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's like running around, and he's grabbing the trash can and throwing it at the door for a second.
I'm thinking, dude, like if you're grossed out, stuck in a public bathroom, and somebody slides a fly swatter underneath the door and says, "Unwedge the lock with this," that's fucking gross, dude. It's like I'm stuck in here with stranger shit, and you guys are asking me to pick the lock with something you've been killing insects and roaches with. Why don't you guys slide me under a dirty condom? I can fucking try to pick the lock with that. That sounds real useful, guys. Thank you.
Well, and to unjam a door, like, okay, so I'm assuming they wanted him to slide it down and push the lock open. You know, like the flat end of the fly swatter.
Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
It's like rubber. It just moves. Like a metal spatula, you might be able to do that with. A credit card, you might be able to do that with. A rubber fly swatter that's just, you know, flapping in the fucking wind. How are you going to end up doing that? That is a dumb policy. Unless
that Burger King was aware of that faulty bathroom and they had hung that fucking fly swatter on like a key ring as like the emergency get out of the bathroom fly swatter. Like, no, this is how we get out when we get stuck in there after taking a giant shit.
It's like after our break, this is what we do. That's the fly swatter.
I've worked at shitty restaurants before, man, and it's just like for the amount of money that you get paid to
it's horrible.
But then that has got to be like the highlight of your week, right? Like just to be able to tell the story. Like this fuckhead got stuck in the bathroom for an hour the other day. We were all laughing at him, passing spatulas and fucking fly swatters under the door. The customers were all laughing at him. It's kind of sad for the guy, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man. We're talking about, it's like evolve or fucking go extinct. If you can't figure out how to get out of a bathroom.
I've worked at fast food. You worked at fast food. I'm sure you have at least one fast food bathroom story. I know I got one.
Please, you go with yours first. Let me think of one.
So I worked at KFC when I was in like high school, you know, and we walked into the bathroom and like someone, I don't know how they did this, like had explosive diarrhea.
Oh no.
And it wasn't just like explosive, like they made it to the toilet and pulled down their pants and got on the toilet seat. It was like on the floor. It was on the seat. It was on the wall next to it. And I was just like, I remember, luckily I think we played like rock, paper, scissors to see how to clean it. But the thing that always blew my mind was like on the wall, because apparently this was like some high pressure liquid poo coming out, you know? And I'm like, okay, I get that maybe like you got it on the seat or the floor, like you were just really trying. But the wall, like you would have to like bend your ass and point it upward to get a stream going up to the wall. Like,
it's on your way down, like, right? It happens as you're sitting, not as you.
They like turned and like they pulled off their pants, turned,
Jesus
and just, like,
Christ. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know about people's personal ability to hold and control their bowel movements and their bladder and stuff. I've had to piss so bad where I literally was like, oh my God, fucking unzipping my pants and about piss at the same time. But I've never had to shit so bad that I couldn't control it. Like,
I've had some pretty bad diarrhea in my time. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, maybe I'm not being fair here. I've had some diarrhea before, but I get to where I need to be.
Like I've had the thing where like it's liquid. It's literally like butt pee at this point. And at that point, I still don't know if I have enough pressure within my body to just like pressure wash a wall of shit.
Oh man, my stories it's just too similar. Like just me telling the same story again. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. But yeah, public restrooms, not always the most sanitary, but I mean, let's be real. Fast food restaurants aren't always the most sanitary, and we're actually going to come back around to talk about some fast food etiquette here in our Florida stories. But we'll go ahead and move on from that. You guys let us know, does he deserve that $9,026 settlement, or does he just need to bury his head in shame? And then our next headline, another good one from Caleb. So, man, there's been an interesting trend the past couple of months of women trying to stick weird stuff up their hoo-has. And lately there's been an announcement, like a PSA put out with doctors urging women not to put parsley up in their hoo-has. Caleb? More?
Why is this a thing? This comes to the article that I found on was mirror.co.uk, so I don't know. But doctors warn against putting parsley into your vagina to induce periods. Doctors have criticized Marie Claire magazine for suggesting that parsley vaginal inserts as a method of inducing periods. So, ladies, don't put food in your vaginas. That's the moral of this. Marie Claire UK has been criticized by medical experts after the magazine published an article suggesting women can induce their periods by inserting parsley into their vaginas. The women's magazine, owned by TI Media, published an article on January 9th detailing the techniques you can use to kickstart your period. Among exercise, eating pineapples and ginger, one suggests using the ingredient parsley. So that's pretty much it. Is don't shove parsley into your vagina. I mean,
I love that stock photo that they use in the article where she's got her hands she's got her hands over it, like, don't stick that parsley in my vagina. It's like a real that picture makes it look like it's not the most voluntary sort of thing. No. That's a defensive posturing for sure. Yeah. That's like please don't put that there.
For people who can't visualize it, it's the same stance that you take like when you think someone's gonna like punch your nuts as a guy.
Yes,
you just automatically do that. You like tuck your hips back and you cover. That's what she's doing in the picture.
When you're 14 years old and somebody, like one of your buddies, flinches towards you like they're gonna whack you in the dick, and your instinct is just like cover yourself real fast. Yeah.
Cross hands, hips back. Yeah.
Knees locked tightly. Yeah, this is a stupid fucking thing that people are having. But that's the thing with medicine, is it's gotten so fringy nowadays, and there's always some studies that say something. Like, is fasting good for you? I don't know, man. Some people say it is. Some people say it isn't. Chiropractors good for you? I don't fucking know. People are like, yeah, it's good for your muscles and for your bones and stuff. But then, like, other people are like, yeah, but then you become dependent on it and you have to, like, go back and get maintained and all of this stuff. So obviously there's some things out there that are controversial, but I think most people can agree that you shouldn't stick anything biological into yourself. I mean, unless it's another human or something like that. I can't think of anything alive that you should put into your body.
That's like on a tangent, because apparently that's why I'm doing this podcast, since we talked about everything last time. I saw a video once of a girl in Japan shove a live squid up there. It was fucking terrifying.
No, man.
And talking about something that can't be sanitary. That sounds like something that's going to give you an infection.
I mean, hey, if that shit's animated, I'll get off to it. But otherwise, it's just really gross and weird.
If she has big eyes, and she goes, kawaii, before, you're okay with it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, at least you have standards.
Yeah, I'm not into the weird shit, man. It's got to be animated, like children's cartoons with tentacles.
Have you ever done any like weird, like untraditional medicine thing?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I smoke weed pretty much all the time.
Is it for medical or because you like weed?
Oh, excuse me. No, I always have believed that there's medicinal value to it. And lately the society kind of seems to be coming around, but I also still kind of feel like it's just a front, like, because they will just give you a prescription for anything. Basically, you just go in there and like, I got anxiety, I got depression, I got whatever. And basically, you're just going through the motions of making it legitimate. But I mean, obviously, kids that suffer from epilepsy and seizures and stuff like that, it helps them. There are people that are dealing with cancer. It helps give them appetites and eat. It helps people with insomnia, sleep. I mean, there are certain things that it's pretty obvious just out of the nature of what pot does, that it's going to help those things. But then also CBDs have been really linked to pain relief and things like that. So if pot's a way to curb the opioid epidemic, then I think that's fantastic. But yeah, as far as homeopathic medicine, to be honest with you, I don't really I don't really trust a lot
Me
of
either.
it.
I go to a doctor before I do the when I won't say who because I don't want to put him on blast, but when I was diagnosed with cancer, with thyroid cancer, someone told my wife that I needed to just eat. Yeah, I think it was drink some no, eat some ginger
Yeah.
and have some lemon tea.
Oh yeah.
I was like, hey, yeah, that'll clear it right up. You know.
Yeah,
Apparently, I just
that'll
had a
work.
sore throat.
Oh my
But
God.
apparently, too, apparently in August, a woman in Buenos Aires, Argentina, actually died from inserting parsley into her vagina to induce a miscarriage. So
Oh
it's pretty
man.
serious stuff. And apparently, a 2003 study also lists parsley as one of the herbs most frequently used to induce abortions. So,
I heard
um,
something about that also.
yeah, it's pretty crazy, stuff that's why, okay, don't just because you've read something in a magazine, do your research, or more importantly, if you're going to do something like this, please consult a doctor, not a magazine who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, it's like, don't come to me and Jeremy for like medical advice. We're not, we're
No.
not people. We'll tell you some dumb shit, and you could very much hurt yourself because we're not doctors. Please go to a doctor before you just start doing weird shit.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know who Gwyneth Paltrow is?
Oh yeah, no, unfortunately, yes.
Do you know who my primary care physician is?
That's it. It's Gwyneth Paltrow.
So my point is, who you gonna trust? Fucking Gwyneth Paltrow or some dude you don't even know their name?
Very true. I mean, she has, what are they called? The eggs?
Yeah, the vaginal eggs. Goop magazine is her online website where she posts all sorts of this very destructive self-help advice and tips and how to be like a real out-of-touch parent. But like the thing she got in trouble for most recently was endangering people of getting septic shock from inserting porous vaginal rocks into their bodies for like healing purposes, like not even anything like physical or tangible, just like for general wellness. Stick this rock in your
like
pussy.
hippy dippy bullshit.
Yeah, that's why like I'm not saying that garlic doesn't have certain health benefits. Obviously it does.
100%.
I'm not saying parsley or kale aren't good for you. Obviously they are, but I'm in the school of thought with you is that like Western medicine has been tested. There have been lots and lots of studies and research done. And hey, it's flawed. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there are certain treatments that obviously are hard on people. There are certain ones that have serious side effects and adverse reactions. And that's kind of the best that we have right now. But if you're going to show me some shelf at GNC that's got all of these different like homeopathic remedies and every single one is like not approved by the FDA. It could do this, it could do that. And it's like, well, if it's been around for thousands of years, why hasn't anybody tested it? What is the holdup on that? Maybe that's a whole different conversation altogether, but like the FDA could test whatever they wanted to, right?
Well, I think they probably already know that half of it's bullshit.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest, like this is just old school thing. They're like, why waste our time? We know this doesn't work. This is just old wives' tales at this point. That's why I would assume.
I cannot think of anything still alive other than another human being that you should put inside of yourself. So guys, down in the comments section, what are some things you should put in your vagina? We'd love to hear those from you. Go ahead.
Number one answer, Caleb.
Ew. I'm tired of these motherfucking headlines about motherfucking snakes on motherfucking planes. Is that a snake in your pocket? Or are you just happy to have a service animal that's a 18-inch boa constrictor? Yeah, apparently there was a guy on January 15th that custom officers at a German airport said okay, let's see. This snake smuggler had secreted a serpent inside his slacks. Fucking yikes, dude. There should be a law about how many words you're able to put in an alliteration like that. Like, you get 3, snake smuggler, secreted serpent inside his slacks. At this point, it's like a fucking tongue twister. But anyways, his name, well, it doesn't say his name. He's a 43-year-old man catching a flight from Israel to Berlin. and caught the attention of an airport security worker when they noticed an unusual protrusion in his pants. What do you think about this, man?
And he's not Russian. We discovered that, correct? Because weren't you under the impression he was Russian for the whole last podcast?
I thought that they were all Russian bots. Yeah, he is not. He is not Russian. No.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So did they say why? Was it just a pet that he wanted to bring on board, or what was the story? Did we ever find out? I looked. I didn't find out anything.
No, same here. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it was just his pet, it seems like there's probably a proper channels to go through. I mean, they let you ship snakes and shit, right?
Yeah, you'd think they could put it like underneath the plane or something, or you could ship it or something, not wrap it around, not put it in his underwear. You know?
No. I don't understand how you would be. I mean, like, obviously these little constrictors and shit, they're not like venomous. They don't bite or anything like that. So it's not like your junk is necessarily in danger, but it's got me posturing like somebody's trying to stick parsley in my butt. You know what I mean? Just the idea of somebody got my hands crossed over the front. Like, no, don't put that there. That shit don't go there.
Why are people always trying to put weird stuff by their privates?
Yeah, that's the biggest question. That's the biggest takeaway, I think, from pretty much all of the content that we do. So why do people want to stick stuff so close to their privates?
I saw a chainsaw once with a warning that said "Do not use on privates."
No, really?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, this is the most hilarious thing, because someone was like, I wonder how this feels against my penis. And then they had to put that on there after that, because they're like, damn, this guy sued us because he took a chainsaw to his nuts.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's horrible. I know. But this kind of opens up the conversation about service animals. You and I talked a little bit about the fact, like, people bring dogs for service animals. I kind of draw the line at mammals. Like, I think, obviously, if you have a support dog, I think that's the most common, the most acceptable. If you want to support monkey, I might even support that more. Like, hey, it's a little closer to a human. Maybe you could have a good relationship with that monkey. But like, if it's a scorpion,
to grab stuff for you.
Yes, absolutely. Shake your hand, give you fucking daps, all that shit. Like, give you your little friend. I've seen really great videos. I'll show you guys a clip of those monkeys on the islands that like run around and steal people's cocktails and get hammered. Have you seen that?
They're amazing. They smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, I want to hang out with those monkeys.
He was doing it like that. It was pretty amazing.
Those are my support animals right there, dude. Just fucking go kick it with those guys. But yeah, I mean, like, there is a Missouri man that brought like a 4-foot boa constrictor into a restaurant, claiming it was for depression. And I've definitely read articles with women that have like service dogs that they take with them everywhere. And, last time we were at the airport, we were traveling on the holidays, but I was blown away by how many people I saw with dogs at the Atlanta airport. So it's not uncommon for people to want to take animals with them, but normally you just have to go through the proper instructions of the proper channels to do it. Go ahead.
So does it make me kind of a douche that when I see someone with a service animal, like, if they're not blind or like missing a limb or in a wheelchair, it kind of just annoys me. Like, I know it sounds horrible, but I see somebody with a dog, I'm like, motherfucker, you're fine.
Yeah, yeah, it does. No, I don't think so. I get it. I'm kind of with you, man. I'm always like trying to be delicate about this stuff. I mean, honestly, yes, my first go-to instinct is like, why do you have that dog? Like, what's the matter with you to why you have that dog? But then the super, like wanting to be nice and liked by everybody, I'm like, well, maybe it really does help them with their whatever the thing is. But at some point down the evolutionary chain, is it a cat where I draw the line? I don't know if a cat would be a good emotional support animal.
So as someone who likes cats way more than dogs, I would choose a cat any day of the week. But my thing is, I don't know. So
that cat don't love you, Caleb.
Neither does your dog. none of the animals love you. I always tell people this. They go, well, dogs love you. I'm like, okay, how about this? You stop feeding your dog for a week, and I feed it out of my hand every day for a week. We'll see who that dog loves in a week. Motherfucker got no loyalty.
I'm glad you didn't just say, "Don't stop feeding the dog for a week."
Just leave it there.
Shit, man. Oh no. I have to edit that out.
For as far as service animals, what do you think of? So here's the thing with service animals. So let's say someone has, I don't know, depression, and they bring a dog with them, and they bring it on a plane. But there's also someone on the plane who's maybe allergic to dogs or deathly afraid of dogs. Like,
that's a good point.
I sometimes have a hard time. And this is going to make me sound, literally, this is making me a huge hypocrite on everything I ever say. And I acknowledge that because I'm always like, the individual. But like, I'm like, you bring your asshole dog on a plane, and there could be 5-10 people on there who hate dogs or terrified of dogs. You don't know that. But it comes off to me actually kind of selfish, like super selfish to me.
Yeah, I can understand that, because now all of a sudden you're having to accommodate more than people in this confined space. And yeah, some people just plain don't like animals. That's fine. Like they shouldn't have to. So yeah, like what you're saying is like, at what point does one person's discomfort supersede another person's discomfort? And I know this isn't exactly the same correlation, but it's something that I thought of. So I'm just gonna throw it out there like we fucking do. But self-driving cars. If you swerve right, you're gonna hit a mother and her 2-year-old child. If you swerve left, you're going to kill 2 65-year-old senior citizens. How do you prioritize that? Does the car go left or does the car go right? If either one of them is like a bad outcome, how do you prioritize who gets the preferential treatment? And I guess to tie it back into that, it's like, okay, this person in seat J5 is allergic to dogs, yet the person in J6 has a service dog with them. There's not been any accommodations made by the person who was allergic to dogs prior to this, because typically you don't think about making plans like that. Now all of a sudden you're being infringed on because somebody else isn't comfortable in public without a pet with them.
I mean, it's just, yeah. And of course, like I said, this does not apply to people who are like blind or need this is totally different. I think we absolutely, if someone needs a service animal, 100%. But like, you got to think of like, imagine if I just brought a mountain lion onto a plane. And I'm like, no, you guys, I get nauseous. And this is my mountain lion that kind of helps me. I pet it.
Yeah.
Like, everyone freaked the fuck out because it's insane. When you actually think of it in different categories, you're like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But God, I'm probably gonna get more hate on this episode than anything. But it's just like a weird concept to me that like you can be like, no, my whatever takes priority above every other person in this thing because I'm me. You know, like
I'm an individual.
Yeah, it's kind of douchey.
All right, guys, what's the worst possible service animal you could have? Let us know down in the comments section. Or if you want to go in a slightly more realistic way, what's the weirdest animal you've ever seen somebody have as a pet? Just one or the other, both, whatever you want to talk about. Don't forget about the what should you put in your vagina question. That one's especially for the 99.9% of our audience who actually probably have never seen a vagina before. I'm just playing, you guys. I'm just kidding. Man juice for back pain?
You're going to take this one. I can't.
God, dude. So, apparently, the Huffington Post reports that a man in Russia... No, he was not Russian. It was in Dublin, Ireland. A man came into the hospital complaining of back pain when the doctors noticed there was some unusual swelling going on his arm. And they said, yo, why is your arm swollen up like that? And he's like, oh, well, actually, my back's been hurting for a while. So what I've been doing is I've been injecting my own semen into myself, into my arm, to subside the back pain. And when we were talking about homeopathic medicine, who knew we were going to switch over to start talking about homeopathic medicine? You know what I'm saying? I'll see myself out.
I was waiting for it.
So dumb. All right, so yeah, this is obviously the first reported case of semen injections used for medical treatment, wrote the doctor in a case study titled Seemingly Harmless Back Pain, an unusual presentation of abscess. I don't know what that word is. Subcutaneous abscess. Seemingly harmless back pain, guys. Like, this is not falling prey to the same bad writing tropes as that alliteration earlier. This is pretty much comic fucking gold.
I just love that this is a case study, that they went with a pun for the name of the case study.
Yeah, and like a pretty inventive pun.
It's amazing. It's like really good. I'm like, this guy, you're kind of doing it wrong if you're doing science. You need to be a comedy writer if you came up with seemingly harmless back pain as a title. That's brilliant.
Yeah. It's a hard one to wrap my head around. When we talked about it yesterday, I had a little bit of time to process it, and I was thinking, like, maybe this came from, like, seeing a scene of South Park, that episode of South Park about stem cells, like, out of context, and it's like, whoa, wait, I got all these, like, stem cells on reserve. I'm just fucking cranking these things out every day anyways. Might as well get, like, one of those, like, small Wendy's Frosty cups and start filling it up.
It's like, I'm going to town anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I saw muscle milk at the store, and I think
yes. Muscle milk.
I'm like, no, dude, you read that wrong. I just don't get the thought process of all the things I could think of. Like, if I'm having horrible remedy, even untraditional stuff. Like, to me, the parsley in the vagina, as crazy it is, pales in comparison to this. This is just absolute insanity. I don't know why I would ever just be like, you know what? I have a headache today. I'm going to just drink my own semen or inject semen into me. I would love to talk to this man and hear the steps that it took him to get to this point.
And we're not talking about localized pain, like, oh, fuck, my back is killing me. I've got to do something to alleviate this pain. Let me shoot my own semen directly into my back. No, this guy is just, like, going into his arm. Like, there's a difference between a tissue injection and or like a muscle and tissue injection than an intravenous injection. And this guy just fucking all in. I don't think he had a clue about any of that and was just kind of, like, sticking the needle in there and shooting this very viscous, and this is something we talked about yesterday. We don't have to get hung up on the details, but you guys just think about the viscosity difference between something that would normally come in an IV, like a liquid drip or something like that, even saline or whatever they put in the shit. It's always like straight up liquid water. And then you've got something like fucking light yogurt. Like, how do you get that through that gauge of needle? I don't know, but yeah, they found like a fluid and air pocket in his arm, and it was just completely swollen up. Part of me wondered, and I asked it yesterday just kind of rhetorically, like, do you think this was just an alibi? Do you think there was some other reason why he was injecting jizz into his arm and then just used the back pain as an excuse when they called him out on it?
That could be, like, if it's just so yeah, I think that 100% could be, but it makes me wonder, like, what if that isn't his reason? Is there another better reason? Like, you know,
better, I guess, is subjective.
Or like, just think of any, like, I can think of anything. Like, unless this was, which this isn't better, but maybe it was some weird sexual thing he liked to do, which is bizarre. Like, and this was his alibi.
And then at least, though, all pretenses of logic or rationale get thrown out the window. At this point, it's like, all right, he's just a fucking weirdo. I can accept that. But the fact that they're trying to root this in medical anything is what really throws me for a loop. And you know, I think about a couple of years ago hearing that women were using semen as like a face cream, like a de-aging cream. Did you hear about that?
They were using semen as a de-aging cream?
Yeah.
I support this.
This is...
No, so why... does it work, or is this just random, you know, voodoo crap that people are coming up with?
Let me make sure. I'm
very curious to see this. I just, again, so like, they were just, did they buy it, or did they like get their significant other to put it in a cup for them and then they saved it?
I was gonna say if they're buying it, they're going to the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? Just come on over. This beauty blogger claims semen facials are the secret to her gorgeous skin because semen makes babies and babies have great skin. Oh, see? There you go. I mean, so beauty blogger Tracy Kiss has a common skin condition known as rosacea. She uses unorthodox technique to cure her rosacea. She gives herself semen facials. And then, I mean, there's several gifts. I'll show you guys. She's just straight up rubbing semen into her face. She's got great skin, but there are lots of people out there with great skin that are not rubbing jizz on their face. So, okay, it's not completely unprecedented. So, okay, this is the first guy that's ever shot it up into his self, but he's maybe not the first person that ever revolutionized or at least dared to think outside the box and find some better uses for semen other than just procreating and creating human life and stuff. I mean, come on, give the shit some actual use. You know what I mean?
I guess so. I mean,
I guess
life wasn't enough of a use for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
So we got facials. We got intravenous usage to cure back pain. But guys, it can't possibly end there. There has to be so many more ways that we could utilize the love goo. So let us know down in the comments section. What are some other good uses for your good juices? All right, let's go ahead and move into some Florida man shit. So I got this graphic that I'm putting up, and it's not that original. Like, Florida man shit's kind of funny, but then I was like, WTF, what the Florida? All right, I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to make a graphic for it. But now it's like the 3,000th topic in a podcast with that same, like, WTF, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll come up with something.
Yeah, I like it. So you'll see it, man. But it's like a map of the North America, and then all of a sudden, like Florida just like drops off, and like a splash comes up from other. And while the motion graphics are happening, it's the first bar of Margaritaville, because I think that Jimmy Buffett just like perfectly encapsulates fucking drunk ass Florida. So it's that bum 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 splash, and the fucking what the Florida. Anyways, it's pretty funny.
So I think you should record you doing the bum bum bum, and then I honestly, God, think that is such a good thing.
I might do that. We'll try it out. We'll see how it works. I could maybe even. We'll see. We'll put them back to back. We'll let the audience decide. That's right, guys. We're gonna make all four of you vote, and whoever comes out on top. So, anyways, you know, I had an opportunity set out in front of me. This podcast, and it was, man, you've got to bring a Florida man story to the table. Every week we should bring a Florida man story to the table, represent Florida for all of its weirdness and all of the things going on here. And the best I could find was a headline. It was a great headline. It was Florida man chased down by horses while eluding cops. So I sent Caleb the link to it, and it's pretty cool. We'll show the clip here. It's a guy running from the police. We got the helicopter surveillance footage, and as you can see, he jumps over this fence into a is that a horse ranch or a farm? What do you call that, Caleb? What is the area where horses are enclosed in?
I call that a place I don't go. That's what I call it.
A stable, maybe. I don't fucking know. No, the stable's a house. Good. So obviously we are not horse lords. What do they call those? Dothraki.
Did you call yourself a horse lord?
Yeah, I'm not a horse lord. Not a horse lord.
Oh, okay. They said you are. What is a horse lord?
I don't know, man. It's like somebody that like the Dothraki. See, you got to catch up on the Game of Thrones thing, man. They're like a whole race of tribal people.
If there's horse lords in Game of Thrones, you're not selling it too well. I'm just saying.
Imagine Jason Momoa being the king of the horse lords. I think they're
I just
called
picture
horse
like in pony
lords.
play stuff, like those leather things, like in pony play, running around with fake hooves. That's what I picture.
Yeah, that's what music festivals look like now too. Like there's the girl
That is
uniform
true.
where is there, and then there's like the guys that are running around in like sparkly unicorn costumes for some reason. Maybe I just saw a picture of it one time and it made such a profound impact that now when I think about music festivals, it's just full of those two kinds of people. Anyways, so that story was kind of lame. Obviously, we can't even stay on it for a minute. So some horses kind of ran alongside this dude for a minute. It kind of felt more like when you're on a sailboat and dolphins kind of like start swimming around you. They're not trying to like chase you down or apprehend you or take you to jail. They're just like they're like being animals and shit. Like Caleb, you said yesterday, they're just running because somebody else is running.
But did you know, totally tangent because apparently that's what we're doing anymore. But did you know dolphins actually sometimes rape people?
I did know that, dude, and I know they will rape each other. They are not the cute, cuddly little creatures that we have imbued upon them. They actually can be some ruthless little fucks sometimes. Yeah, they'll like push pups out, separate them from the rest of them, and just like beat them to death. Sometimes fucking drown them. Like, but yeah, raping people, good stuff. Did you see the footage of the girl at the SeaWorld?
Yes,
that's such a good video.
It's pretty amazing. And not that rape's funny, but dolphin rape, on the other hand,
it's very specific. Yeah. I don't even really consider them to be in the same category for some reason.
Yeah, but anyway, back on to Florida, man.
Oh yeah, dolphins, man, seemingly harmless. Let's see. Florida man, yeah. So I kind of dropped the ball there, but I had another golden opportunity set out in front of me because I totally didn't record the audio on yesterday's podcast, as you guys have gotten to hear about. So I was like, man, maybe there's some better Florida man shit in the news. And I started looking around, and I found a couple of good ones. Florida man arrested for trying to trade weed for fast food at McDonald's drive-thru. Cops only caught the accused when his munchies got the better of him, and he went back in line at the same McDonald's. That's pretty good, right?
That's pretty good. So he tried to trade weed for food?
Yeah. He produced a green. He produced. Let's see what. 23-year-old Anthony Gallagher rolled up to the window in his gray Pontiac sedan with a surfboard through the rear window. When Awad gave Gallagher the total for his order, Gallagher produced green from his pocket, but it wasn't cash. It was a bag of marijuana. Awad declined the trade, and Gallagher pulled out of the drive-thru to park in the restaurant's parking lot. The employee then called 911, but by the time the two officers dispatched reaching the restaurant, he was gone. Police then parked up in an adjacent lot to watch in case Gallagher would return, and at 2:05, the employee returned to the police to inform them that the same gray Pontiac sedan with the surfboard was back in the line of the drive-thru. So, yeah, he got high, went and got McDonald's, tried to give the guy weed for the McDonald's. The guy said no. This is fine so far. Where the story starts to like kind of swerve into the what the fuck is like now this guy calls 911 like it was an emergency. And the cops show up, which is kind of even surprising to me, right? Like it's 2019. Is this what we were worried about, sending cops out to go bust the kid for? I mean, it's not like he got the food or whatever. So anyways, and then they wait for him. They set up and then they post up and they wait for this kid who tried to buy a fucking Happy Meal with a gram of weed or whatever and ended up busting him. What do you think about this? Have you ever tried to use other currency other than currency?
Have I tried to use marijuana for currency?
Or anything. I don't know. Crack, fucking sex. I don't know. Like anything.
I used meth to get currency one time.
Yeah.
More than one time.
Yeah,
that was a different life.
Yeah, okay, obviously there, but like I'm trying to think if I've ever tried to trade anything specifically. I will say, back to working at the restaurant days, I worked at the Holiday Inn Navarre Beach many years ago, back when there was one. And it was the coolest job, man. My buddy's mom was like the manager up there. And when we were young, there was a pizza shop, and it was in the Holodome. The Holodome's basically like the resort area of the Holiday Inn. It was like an indoor pool with a restaurant and stuff around it. Real nice. All open glass above it to let the sun shine through and shit. Super pretty place. But anyways, there was the pizzeria, and when we were kids, we could go into the pizzeria and ask for jalapenos, and they would give us a gram, like a $10 sack, and I guess it wasn't. I don't know, whatever $10 worth of weed was back in the day of swag, in like a little 1 ounce container plastic cup. And we would just make the exchange right there out of the pizza shop. So for many summers, my weed man was the fast food place, not the other way around.
Yeah, so they were the ones who gave you the weed. You didn't give them weed for food?
No. But then there's, I'm trying to think. I was the manager of a Subway for a long time. And I know I did so much shady shit. That I had to have. Oh, no, I definitely did. There was a couple guys from Canada that came through the line one day that said, hey, we have a brick of hash. If you will trade us for 2 foot-long value mills, we will give you a chunk of this Canadian hash or whatever. And I remember trading it and being super excited about it. And when I went home, I didn't have what I needed to smoke the hash. It was like a certain kind of like, you need like a fancy rig. You couldn't just like put it in a pipe or roll it in a joint and smoke it. So I think I ended up wasting it, like trying to stick it on the end of a safety pin and just like burning it and sucking the smoke up off the end of it. So I think that was one time I actually did trade food for drugs. You don't have one, huh?
Yeah.
None of those.
I don't have one. No.
Damn.
Like I never done anything like that.
Damn. Well, I guess I'm a dirtbag. I feel bad for the kid. I feel like he caught a bum rap. Like all he tried to do.
How old is he?
23. I guess he wasn't exactly a kid.
I mean, he's a kid. Like 23. He's a kid. It's a little bit of weed. Chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's annoying as shit. Probably they're like, come on, dude. Like.
Oh, bro, they got him with a DUI. Was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence and being possession of fewer than 20 grams. So, misdemeanor.
Okay.
But DUI, man, those will stick on your record for 75 years in Florida.
I have known some motherfuckers that were so goddamn high that with their driving, I'm like, okay, you should get a DUI.
See, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I mind my 10 and 2, boy, when I'm high. Like, I'm so much more focused on the road, like, because, you're like worried more than normal. So I'm always very aware of what's going on.
Are you really, or are you just high and you're like, man, I am such a good driver right now?
Who's to say? I mean, really. I got my perspective. My wife might say differently. I don't know. I mean, it just depends.
Like, what the hell are you talking about, Jeremy?
The truth is in the eye of the beholder, if that were only the truth. KFC employee hits Florida man in the face with box of chicken, police say. Did you see this video?
Yeah, I was actually a little disappointed in the video from the headline.
It was still a money shot, dude. I understand, but just walk me through it.
So he rolls up to the window and has his phone out, and you don't see the beginning of it, as with every video on the internet. There's no context ever to it. So he's like yelling at her for not using gloves to prepare his food, and then he's bugging her. He gets the food and kind of like really throws it into the car more than really hits him with it. I mean, I think it does hit him,
Yeah.
But she's like, just take your food and get out of here. And he's like, I got it on tape.
Yeah, what I did respect about her hustle though is that she knew that she could have just like pushed it through the window, but she did that like the momentum thrust right beforehand where she like whipped that bitch back before she put it through the window, so it like flung straight at him, and you don't see it make contact with him because he's holding the camera, but it is funny because like he's like, oh, look at her not wearing gloves and preparing my food. I got it all on video. And then you hear her say something like, I'm about to throw this motherfucker's food right in his face. And the window opens up and here's your food. Whap! Fucking hits him right in the face. And he's like, I got the whole thing on video. She's going to jail. And it's like, damn, is this where we're at as a society? You're getting in petty squabbles with the KFC lady. She hits you with a bag of fried chicken, and you're going to get her put in jail for it? Fuck.
She got charged for assault. Did you see that? Or
no,
in the
I
article,
didn't
she actually
see.
got charged for assault.
Damn.
I believe that's what it says. I'm gonna go with it. I'm just like, really? Yeah, it was something like that, assault or not, maybe not battery, but yeah, I believe she got charged for assault. I mean, granted, but it's just like, come on, dude, you're a grown ass man. You got a little food thrown in your face. Calm down.
Yeah, I think actually it was a miscommunication, and that she thought that he was asking for a packet of salt. I'll cut that out of post. It failed.
No, it wasn't. You tried.
Thank you. Ronald Jenkins became upset when he see the employee preparing his food wasn't wearing gloves, according to the police report. You've worked in restaurants. I mean, at least back in the day, was policy always to wear gloves at the restaurant that you worked at?
I worked at a KFC specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the only fast food I've ever worked with.
Okay.
KFC. And no, it wasn't. We washed our hands really well, made the chicken, re-washed our hands.
Yes.
The policy wasn't gloves. So
that's
she was
something that
breaking policy according to what I know. I mean, granted, I was in high school. I don't know if that's changed. But according to what we did at the KFC, no, she had nothing wrong with it.
Yes, there are certainly restaurants that you will go into where all of the staff is wearing gloves. But then there's also the other policy, and that's exactly what you're talking about, where the hand washing is just such a part of the routine that to avoid cross-contamination or anything, it's like you're constantly scrubbing in between each of the different processes that you do. Subway, we did have to wear gloves, but that was mostly for the sake of the customers, because you're making the shit right in front of them. When granted, you go around the back and we're like fucking elbow deep in tuna, fucking just bare fisting it, mixing that shit up with mayonnaise, like. But we were clean, so I don't understand why this guy expected that she would be wearing gloves.
That's also this big misconception. To me, gloves are one of those things that people it's all optics. It doesn't really save you from anything, you know. It's just to make people feel better. If any 5-star restaurant you're going to, guaranteed in the back they are not wearing gloves while preparing your food.
100%. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Not happening. And my thing is too. So I always tell people this. I'm like, I would personally rather have someone who is constantly washing their hands, because I've seen people, they're wearing gloves, they walk, open a door, and then come back and still use the same gloves. That's not any different. They've already contaminated the gloves. Unless they're going through 4,000 gloves a day every time they touch anything, which some places are great about it, but people are people. I understand, the grossness and of having people touch your food, but really think about it when you cook at home. When I cook at home, I touch my own food. Well, I know I wash my hands, but you're cooking it, it's not. I think people are a little bit of germaphobes sometimes about some of the stuff.
Yeah, and you can be a germaphobe. Like, I'm not going to come onto this format or onto this forum and tell you should not be grossed out by people. What I am telling you is you get to pick one or the other. You can't be a germaphobe and a KFC aficionado. You get one or the other, motherfucker. You don't go to the fast food fried chicken joint because you're looking for the quality and excellence of a dining experience. Get the fuck out of here. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from this is if you don't want nasty motherfuckers preparing your food, I guess make it yourself, but chances are pretty good you're a nasty motherfucker too.
Yeah, sure. I guarantee you I've not thought once and scratched my nuts and then made a steak. Guarantee it's happened at some point in my life.
And that's what I was thinking about with the latex gloves on. Somebody just straight up going around the corner and scratching their junk and fucking coming back out and they've got the gloves on and people are like, oh, see, look, they're taking good care of our food. Anyways.
Another Florida story, which we totally didn't have planned, but fuck it. Apparently that's what we're doing.
Jump it.
This was something I sent you a couple of days ago, but we never actually talked about it. It was the Florida man threatens to kill his neighbor with kindness.
Oh, such a good one.
So I thought we'd bring it up since we're doing Florida man. Shit right. So this guy is a Florida man is behind bars after he allegedly threatened to kill his neighbor with kindness. It's not what you think. Kindness is what the 30-year-old suspect, Brian Stewart, calls his machete, according to police. It began with two of Stewart's neighbors went to the suspect's house, concerned about yelling and banging that had come from the home all day, according to the Pensacola News Journal. Stewart came out of the house with an arm raised holding his machete, which had the word kindness written on it. One of the neighbors stepped in front of the other to block the blade and suffered a half-inch cut on his left hand.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so this dude like actually went out. They said Stewart's breath smelled of alcohol and he had been stunned with a taser before he was put inside the patrol car. Man, so the police also said that he had hobbled after kicking inside the car and banging his head. Had to be hobbled. On Saturday, so he was booked in Santa Rosa jail on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
I'm going through my
without
tweets
the
right
intent
now.
to kill. So he got, I don't know how you get without the intent to kill when you come swinging a machete at somebody.
Saying you're finna kill somebody with kindness.
Yeah.
Not really kill you and not really with kindness. It's complicated. I'm trying to find the fucking the link that you sent me, but you know that like that literally happened here in my home. That's like where I live at.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. I live in Pensacola, Florida. That's fucking insane. I had no idea. So
like
you
right up
found
your
a
street, your
story.
neighbor.
Yeah, no shit. You found a story, a Florida man story that literally takes place in my hometown. And I did see the headline and got a good kick out of it. Holy shit, dude. He actually attacked one of the people and the other defended him. How old did it say they were? Or does it say?
He's 30. I don't know if it said about them, but
Holy crap, dude.
that's actually like, it's one of those ones that's funny because of like, hey, I'll kill him with kindness. And he comes out with a machete with the word kindness written on it.
Yeah.
That's funny, but it's actually really terrifying. Like someone could have been killed in this.
Yeah. Do you ever seen that werewolf movie Silver Bullet, the Stephen King adaptation? There's a bartender and he's got this baseball bat called the Peacemaker. It's kind of the same premise. It's like, how are you gonna make peace while you're beating somebody with a baseball bat? But I guess that's kind of the irony of it. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good one, dude. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more looking into that one, see if I actually know any of the people involved. Family Guy is doing away with gay jokes, making gays the only people that Family Guy won't make fun of. Caleb, man, you brought this to my attention. It's a sad day. Sad day for cartoons.
It's very sad. So I was going to read the article, but the article pretty much, I'll just summarize it. The one I saw, I saw the one I sent you, then I went to BBC News. Essentially, there was an episode the other day where Peter went and talked to Trump, and he made a comment about like, yeah, we've made these anti-gay jokes for years, and but you're the president. And I thought it was just like a skit, and no, the producers came out and said they are phasing out gay jokes of Family Guy, which is so funny because the first thing when I read the headline, like phasing out gay jokes, literally my first response was like, in my head I heard the "oh no," that's
no,
right away.
That's good.
I just think for Family Guy it's very hypocritical. They take shots at everything and stuff that is way, way worse than making fun of gay people. They make like there's, and that being said, like I'm super pro gay. I've been best man in my uncle's wedding. Like I have so many gay friends. I have more gay friends than most gay people have. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And
first of all, too, this kind of maybe I'm weird, and maybe it's just people I hang out with, but the gay dudes I know are not this sensitive to get offended by this. Like I think this makes gay men out to be like these really sensitive type of people. And in my experience, that's not the case. No, a
lot of times like these people that grew up in certain communities like had to overcome real adversity. Like, why do they give a fuck about something that somebody's saying on an animated series? Like obviously I hate that we even have to contextualize this, but for people who may be listening for their first times or may not know you and I as a person, definitely all for equal rights all the way across the board. Think gay people are fantastic. Got a couple gay friends, not a lot, not more than like a couple. And I don't have any sort of like I don't know, weird feelings or anxiety or hostility. I don't think most society does either. But
yeah, very small percentage anymore.
There are definitely still people out there, but that's the thing that trips me out about Family Guy is that like we're in a society now that's like like gay marriage is okay. And when you say everything else is not taboo, but this thing is taboo, especially when over the past couple years we've made so many strides towards making it to where it's not taboo, it gets a little bit, it's like, it seems self-defeating in some ways because, for one thing, how do you phase out gay jokes? What does that mean? Like you start doing less and less gay jokes over a period of time until people don't notice it. I don't understand that. I need the context, obviously, to get the whole picture. But it's just like, the thing that I keep coming back to is, why is it okay to make fun of Joe the quadriplegic? Why is it okay to make fun of Quagmire date raping high schoolers? Why is it okay for Stewie to talk about matricide in the first fucking 3 seasons or 2 seasons or whatever? And why are all of these things that are totally taboo and totally not okay acceptable on the show, yet something that that I'd say most people are pretty okay with? It seems like it's something that's, maybe that's it. Maybe I just not summed it up. Maybe it's because people find those other subjects so taboo that there's a disconnect from it.
Maybe. I think it's more just giving into political pressure, personally. Like,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. Like, let's be honest. I mean, it's in our society, I would say a man in a wheelchair gets a lot more discrimination than a gay person does in our society currently. There's a lot bigger stigma about it, unfortunately, which is stupid. It shouldn't be, but like there's a lot more handicap, I would say, discrimination than gay discrimination, in my opinion, what I've just anecdotally noticed. So why is that still okay when we can't touch about this? Like, if they're going to open up this can, then they need to open it up, which then leaves them with no show.
No show, yeah. It just might as well just pull Family Guy off the air, because what it does is it satirizes and makes fun of everything. And by doing that, it means eventually you're going to get you're gonna get stepped on. Somebody's gonna step on your toes eventually. It's all funny when we're making fun of the deaf guy, or it's all funny when we're making fun of the handicapped guy or the gay guy. But when they do get to the guy with asthma or something, just for example, because like I had asthma as a kid, like now all of a sudden it's offensive to me. Well, guess what? Like, if the majority of people are laughing, even if it has to be at your expense sometimes, it's kind of worth it. And I mean, that's kind of the way that humor always is you got to be able to laugh at yourself. You've got to understand that through a certain perspective, we all are pretty fucking silly, and we all look and do things that are pretty dumb. It doesn't matter what group we're a part of. And Family Guy's been pretty equal opportunity offensive across the board. And to exactly what you said, to start nixing off certain things that are offensive now, it's just going to end up in the show just not being around anymore, because what it was sold as is totally opposite of what it's becoming. But I do think it's worth mentioning to the listeners that this is probably pressure from the producers and the higher ups at Fox, as opposed to Seth MacFarlane's personal decision. But that's anecdotal as well. I don't know that.
Yeah. I don't know, because Seth MacFarlane is definitely more on the left, but lately the Family Guy has been very critical of like the SGW PC culture. So then to see them kind of give into it, to me is a little bizarre. Well, I don't even know if they're giving into it. I don't know anyone who is pressuring them to stop making gay jokes. Like I've never heard that complaint.
Sure.
You bring up something really interesting too that I think is 100%, is people will sit through a stand-up show, and Ricky Gervais I think touches on this. I think he brings it up where he talks about like the lady got mad about like peanut allergies because her kid has peanut allergies. Could be completely out of context, but something like that. He's like, you realize I just made fun of like Nazis killing kids, all these other things, and you laughed through all of it until you found the one thing that directly affected you.
Yeah.
And you heard of like the deaf guy, the greased up deaf guy. My dad is legally deaf,
Yeah.
Guess what? Laughed at that my entire life, like at that character. Yeah. Like my dad would laugh at it. He doesn't care, like you have to, I don't know how you get through society and not be able to laugh. As someone who is still chubby, but used to be morbidly obese, I'm telling you right now, obese people kind of fucking funny,
Yeah.
Even when I was obese, there's
Yeah.
something funny about it. There is.
Yeah, if you look at things through a satirical lens, everything is a joke. I mean, that's the purpose that it serves. Like we've talked about, comedy is a way to reflect society back to us. It's a way for us to confront things that sometimes are taboo, sometimes are controversial. Sometimes it takes kind of this, I don't even want to say reductive, but it takes a simplified, objective step back and to just kind of show us what we kind of look like.
We are sometimes.
Yes. And it works across the board. And, recently The Simpsons came under fire for Apu, and I know that they're taking him off of the show. Do I see the similarities between the two? I mean, obviously, it's animated series, institutions that people have grown up on for decades. Both of them have been around for, Family Guy well over 20 years, The Simpsons well over 30 years, and they've kind of stayed the same while the world around them has changed so much. So it does kind of become like, do the shows have to readjust for the times to get the ratings back? Or do we just kind of let them go away and that be okay? Because, as far as I'm concerned, The Simpsons has been dead for fucking 20 years. Or you know what I mean? Like, it's been a long time. And Family Guy, I've held on to a little bit longer, but I feel like that's the thing is, like, Fox built a brand around un-PC, very offensive. All the way back to Married with Children. And if we're going to try to bring back Married with Children and make it woke, then it's not Married with Children anymore. It's just some other shit, Yeah,
that's how I feel. Like, it just, I don't know. And also, too, like, with humor, a lot of people use it as a way to cope with stuff. Sometimes being able to laugh, a perfect example. I remember I put on Twitter when I was going into my surgery for my cancer. I was like, I'm going to have a scar on my neck. I was like, maybe after radiation, I'll open up and I can shoot beams from it, and I'll call myself Cancer Blaster.
I remember that. No, that was good.
But, like, that was a way of me being like, hey, I'm making light of the situation, so I'm not freaking the fuck out about it, Like, and there's people who use it in that context. And sometimes me watching something that I'm going through and making a joke of it is great. And sometimes if I'm not in the mood for it, then I don't watch it. There's that Netflix show about the guy who have you seen the trailer for it? Where he thinks he gets cancer?
No.
So this guy, it looks great. I think it's the guy who played Rupert, whatever his name is, from Harry Potter, the redhead.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like where he gets diagnosed with cancer. His work like gives him promotions. He kind of comes like a spokesperson, and then the results come back, hey, you don't have cancer. And he's like, shit, I'm getting all these perks from it.
Shit. Yeah.
And it looks funny. And so he kind of keeps it up. And so I remember seeing the trailer, and I had just been diagnosed with cancer. I wasn't offended by it, but I was literally like, emotionally, I'm not in a place to watch this right now. You know?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't freak out. I didn't get offended. I literally was like, okay, when I get to a place, whether, I got to a place like now, I got pretty much clean bill of health. I feel like watching it, but whether even I never got to that place emotionally, I might have got to a place where I wanted to laugh about it, or maybe I never had. And that's fine. Either one of those two. But to be so, I just don't know how sensitive these people can be to where they don't, I don't know, like, to see something and let it ruin their day because somebody made a joke. It boggles my mind, to be honest.
So if you, if you are a person that deals with generalized anxiety or depression and you need to bring your mountain lion onto an airplane, all of a sudden your issues become other people's issues, like I don't have the choice as a fellow passenger to mute or to turn off your mountain lion, right? Mm-hmm. Where with humor and comedy, it's like if a comedian says things that rub me the wrong way, if a series I find in bad taste does things that I find distasteful, I've got the ability to not watch it, So in that way, it's almost like if you don't like it, don't support it. It's fucking simple. You don't have to ruin the fun for the people who do. And I think you bring up a really interesting point is that, comedy is something that sometimes it helps us work through and process things to laugh at it. Sometimes there's a pretty direct correlation between like, let me see how to say this. I think that a lot of times people that deal with depression, just to kind of segue, I was trying to come up with a good segue, but I kind of dropped the ball there. People with depression and people that do comedy, a lot of times there is an overlap there. And I think a lot of the reason why is because comics use that as a form of antidepressant in a way.
100%.
So if there is such a close correlation between the two of them, it's interesting to me when somebody like Robin Williams passes away, and I say somebody like Robin Williams. Robin Williams passes away, and people are like, I don't understand how somebody that made me laugh or was so funny could be so sad or so down and depressed. And I do think that historically, it seems like a lot of these people that we really look up to and idolize to make us laugh struggle with serious depression and other issues,
100% they do. And I think that's because they learn to cope with all that stuff through humor. I think most of the great comedians have a little bit of depression in them.
Yeah.
That seems to be the making of a comedian.
And it's interesting, and I think maybe that ties to why some people stigmatize mental illness in a way that makes it kind of fashionable or kind of in vogue, while other people, that are struggling with mental illness are either trying their best to just like cope with it without the help of the healthcare system because they don't have good insurance, or whether they aren't willing to go and get themselves diagnosed because they don't want to feel like they're not in control of their lives or whatever. But there are a lot of people out there that are struggling with mental illness, and I think that there's a stigma attached sometimes to those people where it's hard to separate the people who are struggling from the ones who want to seem artsy. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, it's hard to separate the people who use that as like personality points and making themselves interesting, and the people who are genuinely suffering from it, because it's very in vogue right now to have it. It gives you uniqueness points.
When it comes to the world of art and music, it's almost like you don't have that same bit of I don't want to say credibility, and the culture is changing quite a bit. It doesn't seem like torture is as valuable of an asset as it used to be. But you look from Kurt Cobain to Johnny Cash to Robin Williams to Dave Chappelle. Just go down the list. A lot of these people have had serious conflict within themselves.
And I would say specifically, if you look at genres of music, specifically rock, that's something that's really idolized in.
Yes.
Is mental illness, and depression.
Yeah, poetry, all of that kind of stuff. So there is a stigma around it right now. And my topic for the week is just kind of discussing how I do see so many people in particular on Facebook, maybe because that's where I probably say I pay the most attention to the news feed and stuff like that. But I see people kind of post either ambiguous cries for help or really on the nose, I'm struggling right now. I don't feel like I have a lot of self-worth and a lot of self-value. And I think that I just kind of want to open up the dialogue and just, say, first of all, that I relate. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think in a way, social media, this is a byproduct of social media, and I imagine it'll probably get worse. Unfortunately, if our behavior and our patterns don't change, then depression will probably increase. But I do know that there are lots of people out there that are struggling with depression that never say a word about it, and those are the people 100%. Who are the most important to reach.
And then there are the people who do say it. So I don't know if I ever told you the story about I don't know if we were doing the podcast yet, about the girl that I became friends with via Twitter who killed herself and left me a suicide note.
No.
Did I tell you this story? It's actually super tragic. I won't put her name out there, but If there's certain people who they were friends with her as well, they'll know. But she would always just talk to me, very light-hearted, just jokey through Twitter, and she she I saw a tweet one time about, like, being depressed, and I'll be honest, and this is something that, I probably should have done better of. I didn't pay it much mind, because I see that so much that I'm like, okay, are you really depressed, or are you just a little down today? And then one day I get a text from her DM it, and it's like, hey Caleb, this is, what's her name's husband, um and she left you a suicide note. And apparently she was actually DMing me while she did it. um
Damn.
and she wrote the note while she was doing it. And I was like, all I could think about was this poor guy. I'm like, oh my god, like, if my wife did it. But she was like, because she was like, we were actually having a conversation about how she had no worth. I was like, come on, don't say that. You're a pretty girl, you're a sweet girl, don't say that about yourself. You're a good person, you have value. And her husband actually, yeah, was DMing me. He was like, did she say why? And I was like, dude, I don't know. And I was like, I haven't had contact with him since, but I was like, dude, seriously, I was like, I know you don't know me and I'm a stranger, but if you need someone to talk to, like, I'm here, because I don't want him to do something to harm himself, because I could definitely understand that as a married man. But so, yeah, definitely not to hijack your
Damn.
subject.
No, that's tough.
Like, hey, it's hard to know what's serious and what's not. And maybe I should have taken that conversation more serious, because it was literally, like, probably the last conversation she had.
Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy, and we should have probably prefaced this by saying, and we try to put the disclaimer out there as much as possible. We are obviously not healthcare professionals and are the last place that you should ever want to seek any sort of real life advice, or this is entertainment only, folks. That is mostly what we're here for. If you are struggling with depression, check down in the link. Check down in the description. I'll post a link to different resources you can use if you're in that place. But yes, there are definitely times that I've been scrolling through the feed and had an adverse reaction to it. Like me, somebody who struggles with depression, somebody that knows, like, this shit is real, will be scrolling through the feed, and I'll see that certain person that puts out just perpetually negative shit, and it doesn't hit me in the same empathetic place as it should sometimes. And I instead respond not necessarily defensively, but almost like, you're not doing anything to make your situation better. Complaining about it constantly isn't obviously doing the fucking trick. Maybe you should try something other than just complaining on social media. But then other times there's those messages that just, like, you see their behavioral patterns, you know how they normally act, you know what they're normally posting, and then they'll post that thing that just, like, it makes me pause for a second, and my heart kind of goes out to them for a second, because I realize, like, this isn't a person that's, like, clamoring for attention and using their toxicity as a way to build sympathy for them. These are people that are just, like, just trying to get by. And for the most part, they're posting things about what movies they watch, or they're hanging out with their family and doing normal things, like whatever the thing is, go on vacations, all of that. But then sometimes they feel alone. They feel isolated, and, like, they can't really find what's it really all about? What's any of it worth, and that kind of thing. And I don't know the answers, but I do know that there are a lot of people out there that have those same kinds of questions. And we should probably talk a little bit about the difference between sadness and depression. And we kind of had this conversation yesterday, but I didn't even think about the context of the cancer and going through treatment of that. You would say, did that make you sad? Did it make you depressed? Do you feel like you never got to that place?
I felt like I really didn't have time to get to that place, because I had other people around me, specifically my wife, that I couldn't worry. So I really didn't have time. I'm not gonna say I didn't have a day. Like, I had a day where it got to me.
Yeah.
Most of all, I was like, this is maybe weird to think. At the end of the day, I was like, there's two outcomes. I pull through with this, or I die from this. Either one of these scenarios me being depressed, being angry at people, and being sad is not going to help the situation. But as we discussed yesterday, there was a time where I almost don't even like to call it depression because I have not been clinically proven for depression. But there was a time in my life where, in my teens, where I was suicidal. I almost attempted it, and I heard my mom in the house, and it actually stopped me from attempting it. But that, I don't think it was a chemical imbalance. I do think it was situations in my life. I was overweight, I was nerdy, I was unhappy with myself, I was doing some stupid stuff with my life, and I was kind of awkward. I think, now that being said, if I would have killed myself, I guess it doesn't really matter whether it was chemical or not. But I don't like to say I was ever actually like truly depressed. I think I got really, really down, but by changing those situations and by growing up, I'm very, very positive now, to the point where I had cancer and I laughed through all of it, and smiled through all of it. My wife gave me, for me, which was, I mean, you know how it is when your wife compliments you, like a deep, big compliment. It's the best thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was like, I'm so amazed how emotionally strong you are going through this. She's like, because you smiled the whole time, you laughed the whole time. So mentally now, I'll be honest, I'm in such a good place that I do have a hard time relating to it. That's why when people reach out to me, 100% you can, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not a good person to go to because I'm so mentally far removed from any sort of depression. Like, I kind of love my life, especially now after going through this. I love it even more. I appreciate it even more. Um, but yeah, now depression, I think I can suffer from sadness as anyone can. I can feel alone as anyone can. But for me, I don't think I ever really suffer from true depression.
Yeah, that it is a clinical thing, and people do like to say it, because there is the emotion of sadness, and to kind of illustrate it, weather versus climate. Sadness is like the weather. Sadness can, come in with the rain clouds and then leave, where depression is like the climate of the region, like Florida the average is over a period of time. This is what informs the climate, not the day-to-day weather. So one of them is more of a fixed state over a period of time, where the other is just kind of an emotion, which will, those come and go fairly rapidly a lot of times, depending on what our environment is, depending on what our actual activities are in that day. But when you look at like even clinical serious depression, that stuff doesn't have to last a lifetime. Like, the climate can change over time, and I think that's another important thing, is even if people are suffering from depression, there are ways out. Now, I think you and I can have a very, very, valuable debate, or not even debate, but discussion sometime about, the different ways that you can go about motivating yourself to bring yourself out of this slump. Caleb and I talked a little bit about medicine earlier, but then also there's this whole conversation about just making healthy lifestyle choices, diet and exercise, all of these things separate from Western medicine that can just promote general happiness and general wellness, keep your serotonin and your dopamine all flowing properly and all that shit, where other people will probably need to actually get chemical altering substances that will try to rebalance them, whatever your brain is kind of misfiring or glitching. There are medications that can kind of course correct a little bit. Obviously, with a marriage of those two things, you probably would be in pretty good shape. But obviously, with the health care system being what it is, and with it costing so much to go get medical treatment, it gets to be where a lot of people just can't address it. But steering clear of all of that stuff, just because we could go so deep into it, do you think that the era of social media is pretty involved with the rise in depression, or am I just kind of creating false equivalencies?
It's always hard because I do think there's a correlation, but correlation necessarily isn't the same thing as causation. But I do think there's a correlation, and I have nothing to base this on, but I do think there's a correlation of people with mental problems who overuse social media. I overuse social media, and sometimes I'm a little bit of a nutcase myself, but like I overuse it. I know I do. It's almost I have an addictive lifestyle. Former alcoholic, formerly morbidly obese. Like there's something there. I don't know if it's chemical or whatever it is, but I think there's definitely correlation, and those type of people who are already predisposed, and heavily use social media, who might be predisposed to those things, then see fake lifestyles because for the most part, social media is fake, especially if you're following people who are Instagram models or people who do it professionally. It is fabricated lifestyles. This is not the life these people live. So do not compare yourself to them. If you're a woman, do not compare yourself to the body type of this girl who's had a ton of plastic surgeries, or maybe doesn't, but spends every day in the gym because this is her job. You have to compare yourself to the real world, not to online world, because social media is not the real world.
I mean, that is the most important takeaway, but I don't know if you saying that is because you know that it's that simple, or because you really are you able to disconnect yourself from it? Obviously, logically, we know this to be true, but can you help but compare yourself when you're exposed to it constantly?
I've had hard times in the past. Now I don't. And I
Okay.
think that comes with age and maturity. I think that comes a little bit with getting older and realizing what you do have. And also, I'm a pretty confident guy anyway. That's not something I suffer from anymore. But it is hard to, especially if you're a person who already has self-esteem issues and you're a person who's younger who has self-esteem issues. I think that can be a very and mental issues. That can be a very harmful and potentially deadly combination.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back to the Firefest thing, I think what that guy was able to do was to tap into this desire, this insecurity that we as a generation have of that, FOMO, this idea that everybody wants to be a part of the thing, whatever the thing is, whether it's music festivals, whatever the cool thing is, and Instagram really does dictate the image. Like Instagram is now what like Budweiser beer commercials were back in like the 80s. You know what 100%. I'm saying? It's this they're selling you on a lifestyle that is not real. I think logically we all understand that, but back in the day it was never as in our face about it. And for me, everything is a fucking tragedy, and I think that probably plays a bit into why I know I'm a little melodramatic when I think about it logically, but in the moment, it's like that feeling is just so consuming. Yesterday, you and I did a podcast, and it went so fucking well, dude. It was this great episode. There'd be no way that we could reproduce it, even if we worked on it for almost 2 hours now. But I say that to say you can't go back and fix mistakes that you make, but I was so upset at myself, not just because we can't recapture that moment, but because of my mistake, because of my just carelessness, recklessness, whatever the adjective I want to impose on myself is. I fucked up. Like, I made a really bad decision, and I was fucking beating myself up about it, because it wasn't just this great podcast that we did. I also did an interview with a YouTuber that could have, in addition to it being a really great interview, him being a super cool guy to talk to and be a guest, it could have actually helped my channel grow quite a bit. And I lost that opportunity. And dude, just all day yesterday, I was so upset, thinking like, should I even be doing this? Of all of the fucking podcasts and movie reviews and things that I've done, if I cannot make it work consistently, then what the fuck am I even doing? And that was like a struggle that I was definitely going through. But then I just tried to turn it into like, well, I can't redo it today. I can probably work on some graphics. There are some other things that I can do to try to move forward. And I decided to go that route. But man, it's just... sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees, because logically I know it's not the end of the world, but emotionally, dude, it feels like it is the fucking, like the whole world is caving in on me,
It's easy sometimes, I think, to get caught up and let your mind go to the worst possible place. It's definitely human nature. But I agree you with like what okay, what happened yesterday with the podcast. Yeah, it sucks. But what do? You look at it as like you were telling me, you're like, I'm gonna double check my work, and we did a little quick test to make sure both of us were recording before. You learned it at you looked at it as a learning opportunity to implement some new things in your process.
Yeah.
So yesterday was a win, and it's really a matter of perspective because you learned something. Yeah, it was a harsh lesson, and yeah, you may not get Sean to come back on and all that stuff. Those are all real possibilities, but you at least learned a valuable lesson in it. That who knows, maybe we get someone even bigger down the future, and you make sure you don't make that mistake. So you got to view things like that, and for me, that's the key to not only depression fighting, but is the key to happiness is, and it's super hard to do. I would never downplay it, is to not look at what you don't have, but look at what you do have. And look at mistakes you've made as opportunities for improvement. I'm a guy who my life is literally just mistake after mistake after mistake. And I consider myself a very good person now because I learned from them. It took me a lot of years, it took me being obese. It took me being an alcoholic. It took me being a womanizer. It took me being a drug dealer.
Going through cancer now. I mean, shit, man. Yeah. You've seen adversity. Yeah. Yep.
But it's made me a better person ultimately. And it instead of looking back and being like, woe is me, poor me, it makes me go, nah, you know what? I'm a pretty strong motherfucker, and I've made it through a lot of stuff in my life, and I'm going to continue to make it through a lot of stuff in my life, and every one of those has caused me to grow. And I'm not unique. I don't want to think like I don't need a pat on the back. Everyone's that way. Everyone's been through a lot of shit. That's the human experience. And I think if people could start realizing that it isn't just you. You're not the only one who feels down. You're not. I mean, there are people who take it to a new level. I'll never deny that, but you're not in this alone. We all feel lost. We all don't know our purpose. We all don't know if we're making the right choice, and we all make constant mistakes. We all look in the mirror and are disappointed with ourselves. That's part of being a human.
Yeah, I don't think I can sum it up any better than that. I totally echo what you said there at the end, and I think that that's an important note to go out on, you guys, is that every failure is a win. I mean, that's really, really well put. I endorse that statement fully, and now I got to transition into plugs and stuff. If you guys enjoyed this video, then do us a favor and subscribe to People Are Terrible on YouTube. Head over and check us out on Twitter as well. We are doing the show every week. You can check out the full version of it on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can see the whole video version on YouTube. You can also
find it on Stitcher as well.
Oh, is that a fact? Are we on Stitcher now?
We are on Stitcher right now.
Look out, people. So then also, in addition to being able to get the full versions of the podcast, you can just check out little segments of it via the YouTube channel, where we will be uploading those pretty much daily. So yeah. If you enjoyed this video, smash that little thumbs up button down there. It really helps my depression. And until next time, and on behalf of me and Caleb, be terrible.